Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really powerful idea, one that explains why so many of our best laid plans just seem to, well, fail. And more importantly, how a simple shift in focus can change literally everything. It's called the Bottleneck Principle. And trust me, getting your head around this is a total game changer.
All right, so let's start with a problem we've all felt. We've all been there, right? Whether it's at work or just in our own lives, we try to make a big, important change, and it just doesn't stick. We start out with all this energy and the best intentions, but somehow we end up right back where we started. So frustrating.
And look at this number, 70%. That is a staggering figure. It's the failure rate for most major change initiatives. Just let that sink in for a second. 7 out of 10 times we try to improve something really significant, we fail. It's the kind of statistic that makes you wonder why you should even bother.
And here's what's really fascinating. It's not about what you're trying to change. It could be a massive corporate restructuring or something as personal as trying a new diet. The failure rate is almost identical. That tells you the problem isn't the specific goal. The problem is deeper. It's in how we approach change itself. So what is really going on here?
Well, the reason for this ridiculously high failure rate, it usually boils down to a fundamental mistake in how we think. We fall into this trap that feels super productive on the surface, but in reality, it's the main reason we keep failing.
So check this out. There was this famous business framework called the Balanced Scorecard, and it suggested tracking like 20 different things at once. And the theorist Eli Goldratt, he just looked at it and said this. His point was simple, but it was a big one. Trying to improve everything at the same time doesn't create focus. It just creates a ton of noise and confusion. We're all kind of conditioned to believe that to be a good manager or just a productive person, we have to care about every single detail, every metric, every opinion. But that just pulls us in a million different directions. We end up in this constant fight-or-flighting mode, and we can't even see the one thing that actually matters, the one thing that will move the needle. So the big question is, how do we break out of this trap of doing way too much? Well, let's take a look at a company that built an entire empire by absolutely mastering the art of focus, Nespresso. This was the central puzzle for Nespresso. They saw this huge, untapped market of people who loved good coffee, but they thought that home espresso machines were just way too expensive, too messy, and honestly, just too complicated to bother with. See, Nespresso's real genius wasn't just in selling a product. It was in creating what you'd call an irresistible offer. They basically sat down and anticipated every single reason a customer might hesitate, every little yeah, but, and they systematically designed a solution to just eliminate it. They thought of everything. You think, yeah, but the machine's too expensive. Boom, they made it cheap and focused on selling the pods. Then you think, okay, but what if I can't find those pods anywhere? No problem. They'll deliver them right to your door. But does it even taste good? Go ahead, try a free cup in our store. By removing every single point of friction, they made saying yes unbelievably easy. Now, what's really cool is that this Nespresso approach, it's not just some clever sales trick. It is a perfect, real-world example of a super powerful system for getting breakthrough results. By finding and solving the key reasons a customer would say no, Nespresso was putting the core idea of something called the theory of constraints into practice. And the main idea here is incredibly simple, but it is so powerful. In any process, whether that's a factory, your sales team, or even just your personal to-do list, there is always one single bottleneck, just one. And here's the kicker. Improving anything else is a total waste of time and energy until you've dealt with that one constraint. And this gives us a really clear 5-step game plan. First, you identify the single biggest thing holding you back. Then, you exploit it. That just means you squeeze every last drop of performance out of it as it is. Third, you subordinate everything else. You make every other part of the system support that one bottleneck. Only then do you elevate it, which is where you might invest money or resources to improve it. And finally, you repeat the whole cycle, because as soon as you fix one bottleneck, a new one is always going to pop up. Okay, so let's make this real for you. How can you take this powerful idea and actually apply it to your own work or your own life? How do you find that one single thing that will give you the most leverage? Here's a great way to think about it. If you're selling something, it's always way easier to sell diet pills than it is to sell vitamins. Why? Well, because people are much more motivated to get rid of a current nagging pain than they are to work for some distant potential gain. Your bottleneck,
That's your system's biggest source of pain. Find the pain, that's your starting point.
So here's the crucial part. Finding and fixing your bottleneck takes focus and energy. And real focus, it comes from subtraction. In order to get the time and the brain power to work on your most important problem, you first have to figure out all the things you can just stop doing. You have to ruthlessly get rid of the tasks that aren't helping or might even be hurting your progress.
And that really brings us to the core question you should walk away with. Instead of trying to improve a dozen things at once, which just spreads your attention thin and basically guarantees your fail, find the one single thing, the one constraint that's holding you back the most. Focus all your energy there, make everything else support that goal, and you might just be absolutely amazed by what happens.